Here's everything you need to know to be faster with the Carbonworks F4. I've encountered a lot of good drivers online, but I've noticed a lot of them are leaving time on the table. I think I've quite figured out how to drive it at its quickest, so I'll tell you what you need to know. Step 1 should be the most obvious one, which is knowing your setup. As we know, it comes in 4 default setups, which is base, aggressive, low downforce and high downforce. In most applications you only need aggressive and low downforce. It's also worth mentioning that the low downforce can be made even lower downforce since the beam wing isn't turned all the way down. Some people have difficulty with the aggressive setup, but it isn't actually that hard to drive, you just need to figure out what you need to do. And with the next step, that'll explain probably where most of your problems with the aggressive setup lie. Number 2 is making sure you don't downshift too quickly. So timing your downshifts has always been a very important part of driving a racing car, especially if it's sequential. However, with the Carbonworks F4, if you downshift too quickly, you can go into an uncontrollable spin. Make sure you're calm and calculated and don't panic downshift like one might do in a Formula 1 car. Finally is use loads of curbs. As long as the curbs are smooth enough to drive on, use as much of it as possible. On corner entry, getting the outside curb on the rear outside wheel is important to rotate the car in towards the corner, and then catching the inside front wheel on the inner curb will also rotate it towards the middle. This reduces the amount of steering input you need to give, and it allows it to get on the throttle earlier. You can also carry more speed through the corner this way, so you will gain back a lot of time, especially on top speed focused tracks. Some honourable mentions. Most lobbies that will have the F4 will also have the slipstream mod on, so remember that even though you're not quite reaching the top speed of 6th gear, it can still be used when you're slipstreaming to get past people. Another honourable mention, you need to remember this car actually has adjustable brake bias, and sometimes you might see me using it. The default setup suits me pretty well, although I usually like to dial it a little bit more towards the back. Figure out whatever you like, it's definitely a very circuit dependent thing. Click here if you want to see me actually racing this car against other people. Subscribe because most of you guys aren't, and this is another video YouTube thinks you'll like. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you out on the track.